the right of divorce, right, is an important matter. Why? Because divorce is something that within marriage, the default, and there's a divine wisdom in it and a test, that the husband is granted divorce. Right? And that's a fitna for him. Right? It's a fitna. And that's one of the grave tests in marriage. And it's meant to serve as a deterrent, that don't do it. Don't do it. But Allah tests us as part of our moral responsibility in this life. لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. To test you which of you acts right. And there's certain things that are meant to be testing. And this is one of the tests in marriage for men. Because sadly, and most people, when they engage in divorce, do so in foolish ways, in wrongful ways, in hasty ways. And that's a problem. But the right of divorce can be specified for a woman if she chooses for it to be specified. If she chooses for it to be specified. How? Right? How? By either asking for it or agreeing to it at the time of marriage or after. So divorce has actually many benefits. Okay? That if two people can no longer remain together in good, and there's no reasonable expectation of the good being restored, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us, عَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ أَوْ فَارِقُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Live together in the good or part in good ways. And of course, it's not immediately. Jack and Jill have lots of fights. Doesn't mean they get divorced. Seek to restore the good, but if you can't restore the good, and there's no reasonable hope of restoring the good, then there's an option, and there's steps. You maybe seek separation, counseling, many, many steps, but ultimately, if there's no hope for the restoration of good, then divorce is actually a good option. Divorce also has obvious harms, and it's a test. There's a great wisdom that divorce counts. Now, we're not going to look at the fiqh of divorce, but women can also have the right of divorce. Because how does a woman get out of a situation of harm? So by default, if a woman seeks to get out of marriage, she would either ask for divorce and the husband agree. And if he's a person of reason and religious principle, he might just give her just willfully, just divorce her. Number one. Or number two, he could agree to khula, to let her go. And the khula, if it's because he is being abusive, the wrong is due to him, he has no right to the mahar, to demand the mahar back, or to not pay the mahar. That money would be sinful for him. He'd have to return it. But if it is because the woman is the one in a state of non-fulfillment of rights, but she wants out. She doesn't want to fulfill the rights. Right? Then she can repay the mahar. But the problem with khula is that ultimately the man has to agree. In traditional societies where there's the notion of honor and family, and there's non-legal institutions that would bring the two people back together or get people to act in dignified ways, this might be a reasonable option. One night I was working in Jordan and I heard the sound, very distressful sound, of a woman obviously getting hit and screaming. Next morning at Fajr, my landlord said, "Did you hear that disgraceful sound last night?" I said, I was quiet. He said, "I apologize on behalf of our whole family. It won't happen again." I'm wondering, how won't it happen again? He said, "We gave him a piece of our mind, and gave him a good beating. Now that's not necessarily the right Islamic thing to do, but it happened. Said he won't be doing it again. Otherwise, she's going back to her family. Right? And this is a non-league. I actually, in Jordan, for example, to a tribal society, several times went with the family of my friend. Not only the parents go to see the other party's parents, the whole tribe, like literally 150 people, went from one side to the other. And they talked to each other, emphasized that we as Bani Abbad, for example, we will take care of your daughter, and so on. But we don't have those kinds of things of people making sure, people living in extended families, etc., people having a sense of trust, etc. So in the absence of that, and then a woman could go to court. But the Muslim court system has been destroyed. Why? Historically, where was qada supposed to be? Where is a court supposed to be established? In a Muslim society. So someone said it. In the masjid. At the time of the Prophet ﷺ, qada was in the Prophet's mosque. And we know even afterwards, during the time of the Khulafa. Once Sayyidina Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu ta'ala anhu was sitting where the Prophet ﷺ was sitting, judging between people. So his daughter, Sayyidah Aisha, was looking at him, judging. But she got lost in thought of Rasulullah ﷺ. But then Sayyidina Abu Bakr came and asked her, what are you thinking about? Because she didn't even notice that he got up. And she was reflecting on Sayyidina, on the description of the Prophet ﷺ given by his uncle when he was young. And she had tears in her eyes. And he had tears in his eyes. Said, Wallahi kana kadhalik. By Allah, he was that way. Right? And they're beautiful lines. They're outside the topic here. You can read it in any biography. So qada was in the masjid. But the idea is that justice is meant to be fair, but is also not meant, because justice delayed is not justice properly served. Right? And the whole idea of having lawyers and so on, lawyers are amongst the worst creatures on earth. Right? Because they're not a means of securing justice, they're just a fancy way for another group of people making undeserved money in society. And in general, it's not good to be an agent for anything, because agents are just agents of self-benefit, right? Because agency is a trust. When you act on behalf of someone, you're supposed to be acting for their best interest. But in most cases, any agent, a lawyer is an agent, a real estate agent, all these people, they're typically not acting in the best interest of the person they're acting on behalf of. So certainly the scholars and the righteous throughout history have said that of the worst of things you can do in life is to be an agent. Why? Because you're pretending to act in someone's interest, but you're only acting on your own behalf. Which is why also a lot of the ulama said, don't become a doctor. Because being a doctor is also a trust. What are you supposed to do? You're supposed to actually take care of the health of the person who's entrusting your health with. But doctors basically just want a client. Right? They want a client. They don't want to heal you, because let's say if they dealt with your problem, you won't be an ongoing client. Right? So anyways, that's just something to think about what you should be doing in life. But be trustworthy.
La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah.